Hi, so what is a BTL property? Well, BTL stands for buy to let, so um, that would typically be a property that the whoever's buying it has the intention of renting it out rather than actually living in it themselves. Um, if you're going to be buying a buy to let property, some things to consider are the rental potential. So, is it in an area that has rental demand on an ongoing basis? If you're not sure, check in with local letting agents. They should be able to help you out with that. If you are buying a buy-to-let property and you already own a current property, then you'll probably be liable to pay something called ADS, Additional Dwelling Supplement Tax. It's a government tax, depending on where you are in the country, it's between 3 and 4%. So as an example, if you bought a property for £100,000, regardless of the tax band of the country you're in, you'll pay that additional dwelling supplement of either 3 or 4%. If you're in Scotland, it's 4%. So in the example of the 100,000 property, you'd be paying £4,000 additional dwelling supplement tax on top of that. If you're going to be buying the property cash, that's fine. But if you're going to be, excuse me, if you're going to be putting the property onto a mortgage product, i.e., if you're borrowing against it, you'll have to get a mortgage product that is specifically for buy to let. So there's certain conditions that are written into the buy to let products that are take care of the nuances around renting properties out to tenants, etc. So you can't put it on a traditional residential mortgage. You have to put it onto a buy to let mortgage product. If you tie in with a good mortgage broker in your area, they'll be able to help you figure out what's the best buy to let product to put your property onto. One thing to consider with buy to lets versus traditional residential properties is the loan to value. So the LTV, the loan to value, is typically lower for a buy to let property than it is for a residential property. So for a buy to let, you'll probably be looking at a 75% loan to value, maybe 80%, and the remaining 20 or 25% of the purchase cost would need to be funded by you, the investor. Contrast that with a traditional residential purchase of the same property, you would be perhaps looking at a 90% or even 95% loan to value in some cases, with the remaining 5-10% being funded by yourself. So just something to be aware of if you're going through a buy to let mortgage. Typically the model for buy to let is you would normally let the property out to a family or a couple who have an intention of staying there for quite a long time, medium to long term. So it would probably be months or years rather than a few weeks or months. So it's kind of for the longer term. And an example, let's say you had a property at £100,000. Those tenants may pay you £500 per calendar month to live there. The costs associated with that property would be the responsibility of the tenant, except for the mortgage payment, insurance payment and management payment for that, fees for that property. So things like council tax, energy bills, those types of things would be paid for by the tenant. Refurbs, repair bills, all those types of things would be your responsibility as a landlord, and you'd be expected to keep that property in a condition fit and proper for a family to live in. So wind and watertight, making sure that you get a fresh supply of water and got good sources of heat and light. If you're going to be getting a buy-to-let mortgage, it's worth noting that you will have to, or a designate will have to be registered with that local council as a landlord, so that you appear on the landlord's register. It's not a difficult process to do. It's just a case of applying it and getting yourself on there if you're not already. Once you're up and running, you've got tenants. Then you need to decide: do you want a lettings agent to manage the property on your behalf, or do you want to manage it yourself? There's no right and wrong answer. It's purely a personal choice. A lettings agent would probably charge you in the region of, let's say, 10% of the monthly income from that property as a management fee. So in the example I gave, if it was £500 a month per calendar month for the rental, you'd be looking at a fee of about £50 a month to the lettings agent. For that fee, the lettings agent would then look after your property, managing the tenants. Any complaints, issues they have, they would deal with those. If there are any costs associated with the with the property that's unexpected or over and above the normal cost, shall we say. For example, maybe a burst pipe or a broken appliance, a roof leak, something like that, then you'd be expected to fund that, of course, but normally a letting agent would manage that repair for you using their network of repair people, and then you would pay the bill. Lettings agents are also very good for sourcing tenants, so they can do credit checks, reference checks, check with previous landlords if applicable to see what type of tenant they are, because the higher the quality of tenant you get into your property, the more chance you have of them staying there for a prolonged period of time, and the less chance you've got of them damaging your property through negligence or willfulness. So it's really a personal choice, one for you to decide. The investment strategy for buy-to-let is typically to generate a cash flow. So a monthly cash flow that's coming into your bank account every month after all costs are taken off. So in the example I gave you of £500 per calendar month, after you've paid things like your mortgage, your insurance, your management fees, ballpark, you may be looking at half of that. So you may be after the £500, you're left with £250 after all costs. So that would be deemed due to be cash flowing £250 from that property into your bank account every month. And over the longer term, so if you're going to keep a buy-to-let property for, let's say, a 20-year period, 30-year period, over that period of time, you would hope that the property would appreciate in value. So it's not guaranteed, of course, because nobody knows what the economic situation is going to be moving forward. No one ever does. But as a general trend, if we look back, over the last 100 years, using data from the Office of National Statistics, we can see that property in the UK on average has gone up about 8% year on year. Now, that doesn't mean to say it's every year, because it's an average. So some years it's gone up maybe 1 or 2%, some years it's gone down maybe 15-20%. It just fluctuates, but on average, if you look at the trend, prices in the UK for property normally goes up over a prolonged period of time. So you would hope that if you buy a buy-to-let today, that in 10 years or 20 years time, that's going to have increased in value. So that would be called capital appreciation, and that's something that you could benefit from further down the line. So you could get cash flow coming into your business for that period of time, that 10-year, 20-year period, and then at the end of that period, you've got the choice of either maybe remortgaging the property or selling the property for a capital gain. It's really a personal choice. And the last thing to mention on buy-to-let properties is that once you reach the point where you've got 4 or more properties, buy-to-let properties, you're then deemed to be what's known as a portfolio landlord. And when you become a portfolio landlord, you'll find that your lending criteria differs slightly from a typical landlord who owns only one or 2 properties. So hopefully that's been a useful insight into buy-to-let properties for you. I hope you found the information useful. If you did, appreciate if you'd subscribe to the channel, click the link below, the like link below, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.